What was the cost of being a powerful woman in radio in the early 2000s?
Being misunderstood, very much so. I remember one of the terms they used for me was, she's so controversial. And the controversy was, how is she saying that? Why is she articulating that issue?
As a woman.
Yes, and also we just don't generally talk about that, or we don't go after something like that in that way. You know, so that was a cost. That cost of, you know, you're very misunderstood.
What are women still apologizing for in the boardroom and in public?
Ooh.
And what does unapologetic female leadership look like?
What are they apologizing for in life? In life in general, having choices, having money. It's new. It's
owning their bodies.
Owning their bodies, yes, agency. So women are still apologizing for being able to make choices, and those choices are in everything: size of families, whether to have families or not, jobs, what they earn, what they drive. The women who went before us didn't go through the jungle so that we can continue to apologize for the fact that they were vilified for even daring to say that we should sit at board level. We owe it to those women.
What can Rwandan women and
learn
Rwandan
from
leaders learn from you? Vice versa.
Okay, let me start with the vice versa. Every time I landed, I was like, and you are among equals. Women who are very clear that we got a job to do and we're going to do it well. And you've been called here to add to this. Yeah, so don't play. And let me tell you, there was one thing I learned from the women I encountered anytime I did work in Kigali, was that we do what we do and we do it well. Not just because of who we report to. In a lot of ways, RDB does report to His Excellency, but because this is a space we own and we own it well.
We are in Nairobi. I'm Sunny Nayombia, host of the Long Form Podcast. My team and I are in East Africa's richest city to speak directly to the people who make the city tick. Welcome to the Nairobi Conversations, a meeting place for African conversations led by African voices.
This is the very, very best. I introduce the very, very next. Big deal, you know this is the big league. Sanga mumihanda ya chigari make a big fish. Word on the street to akaze. Habari gani mumeze mte. Yutenshimi mana kuva honda muchiye. If you want the long form, come close and rabure. Wait, what?
The long form.
What did he say?
The long form.
What?
The long form.
The long form. The long form. Hello there. Greetings once again from Nairobi. My guest this week on the Long Form Podcast is Caroline Mutoko, a trailblazer, a truth teller, and one of Africa's most powerful voices. From ruling the Kenyan airwaves to challenging a generation to lead boldly, Caroline has never played small. In this episode, we discuss power, gender, female leadership, and media. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to make a deal with you. About 69.5% of you who watched this very podcast haven't hit the subscribe button yet. So, here's the deal I want to make with you. If you hit that subscribe button today, I promise you that my team and I will keep making the show better and better in every single way. So, go ahead and hit that subscribe button today. And now, let's get into the show. Caroline.
Sunny.
African icon.
Is that so? Thank you.
That's what they say.
Okay.
Welcome to the Long Form.
Thank you so much.
And welcome back from Lagos.
Lagos. My goodness, yes. When you see me remove my glasses, means let's get serious.
What does that mean?
This was my first time back in Lagos since 2017. Obviously, we all lost a year to COVID. A lot has changed for the better, but Lagos always fascinates me.
Why?
The pace, first and foremost. I've always thought Nairobi is very fast-paced. Lagos's pace is at least 5 times faster. Lagos is barely sleeps. Barely sleeps. Lagos is amazing chaos. Everything is happening, and it's happening at the same time. And in all that, everybody knows what they're doing, including those of us who visited.
That sounds stressful. I come from sleepy Kigali, so Nairobi is maddening for me.
Okay, well, I will say this. A couple of years ago, I was in Kigali for Kwitizina. By the way, tell them I'm waiting to be invited back, not as working, but as a guest.
Or as a namer.
Or as a namer. And every time, because usually when I'm in Kigali, I'm there at the behest of RDB. And I find that they remind me to slow down. It's like, no, you can have breakfast, and then after that, we will do this, and then we'll go through the program. And I'm usually the person who lands, and I come from the airport, I'm like, okay, before I go to my room, can I look at the room? I'd like to see the room first, and then I'd like to do a sound check. Once the sound check is done, I want to go through the notes again, and they're like, yeah, this is the problem with you, you're from Nairobi, calm down. And sometimes I don't know, do I take it as a compliment or not?
I mean, it's a compliment. It's although I guess it's shocking to see someone being like, wait, let's just have breakfast.
Yes.
Let's have a conversation. Let's get to know each other.
Yes.
And you're just like, let's go.
Because and this is why, once again, I'm going to say I'm waiting to be invited as a guest. Because even when I went to Nyungwe, just as in congratulations, you have a one and only. It's a huge brand to have, and Rwanda has it. And I remember my son must have been all of 6 months old, and I came out, and I was in and out.
What year was that?
I was in Nyungwe. Nyungwe must have opened its doors in 2018, yes.
So your son is what?
He's 7 now. He's 7 now.
That's a good age.
Yes, it's a really good age, but high energy. Nobody warns us how much energy young boys have.
How many children do you have?
Wow, that's an interesting question. I'll tell you why. Because I have 3, but my Philip comes to the relationship with 5, so we have 8.
Jeez, I have 2, and
It's a lot. You have 2 boys.
2 boys.
I shall whisper a prayer for you and your wife.
So you were the first woman to really dominate the airwaves in Kenya.
Yes.
That's what they would say.
They say that, and I understand that now,
Yes.
because I'm a big believer that you live life forward, you connect the dots backwards. Yes.
So what was the cost of, because there's always a cost to influence, to power. What was the cost of being a powerful woman in radio in the early 2000s?
In the early 2000s. Being misunderstood, very much so. I remember one of the terms they used for me was, she's so controversial. And the controversy was, how is she saying that? Why is she articulating that issue?
As a woman.
Yes, and also we just don't generally talk about that, or we don't go after something like that in that way. So that was a cost. That cost of, you're very misunderstood. And then you meet people and they're like, oh, you're nicer than I thought. I'm like, oh my goodness, what were you expecting? 2 horns? I mean, I wasn't sure. So there was that. There was the cost of a few powerful enemies. Yes, usually politicians.
Yes.
But it's okay. I keep reminding them I don't run for re-election every 5 years. I'm Caroline Mutoko for life. I will outlast you.
Yeah.
Yes, I
will.
will.
And you did.
And I have, and I did, and I will.
Do you ever meet those politicians and just,
Yes, I'm like, hi. Oh, I mean, let me tell you a story. We're on a podcast. In my younger days, obviously, being young is wonderful, but it's also crazy. I always tell everybody in their 20s, you're a little dumb.
I mean, I agree.
yeah, you're a little dumb, and they don't like to hear it. But I remember getting really sued by the then Justice Minister, Martha Karua, who, by the way, made headlines again East Africa wide
She's
because she went down to Dar.
defender of democracy.
Yes, she is.
And free speech.
And free speech. Got into
So-
trouble with her, my
Why?
co-host and I, because we said a few not nice things.
Free speech.
Yes, free speech, terrible thing. But I remember that was difficult because at the same time, you know, when the microphone is off, the headphones come off. And the first time I met her, obviously it's a civil case. I met her in court. I thought, oh no. And today, at my age, I can say, oh no. And I remember, you know, this is one of those things. The lawyers are very clear. We don't talk to each other. My bosses are very clear. It's been handled in court. And then I met her in Geneva. I met her in Geneva in 2008, a year after the peace accord. Remember, we had a very difficult election in 2007. So I think a year after the accord was 2009, and we've been invited by Kofi Annan. And she was there. And I remember I asked to see her. And I said, look, I'm not trying to jeopardize the court case, but I just wanted to say I never meant to hurt you at all. I was young. I was impetuous, brash, impetuous, and I'm sorry. And we had 2 glasses of red wine. She left for Nairobi, I think, the next day, and I left a day after. And I think if you look this up, about a week later, she resigned from government. Very upset that in her absence, the then president had gone and appointed judges without her say so, and she was the justice minister. But what I've learned over time, and I have to say this about Martha Karua, is that she is an absolute African princess warrior. But she's a warrior woman. Absolutely. So you're asking me what have I learned at the cost of a couple of lawsuits and a lot of personal growth as well. Yes, and that's the good stuff.
Before we continue, if you live in Kigali, what do you do to stay strong and healthy? Do you want to get fit without breaking the bank? If you are like me and the answer is a resounding yes, join Waka Fitness, Kigali's top fitness hub, with expert-led workouts in a state-of-the-art facility, high-end equipment, and an unbeatable community vibe. And here's the best part. As a listener of this podcast, you get 20% off your membership. The thing is, this deal ends in August. So just hit the link in the description, waka.fitbase.rw/thelongform, or scan the QR code on your screen. Join Waka today. Get strong, feel good, and live life abundantly.
You left. You know, some people, there's this African proverb about leaving the dance floor while people still enjoy you dancing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I know. You're going to ask me, and then you came off the airwaves.
Yes.
But you know,
left at the height of your power. You know, that was very un-African.
Really?
Yeah. Our politicians would have probably stoned you at the gates. Why would you leave that position? Because it's a position that people fight for. They dream about. They factor in everything and say, if I can
do that,
if I can get there. Wow. Why did you walk away?
I didn't walk away. I grew.
And what did you learn about the evolution?
But isn't that what everything is? I mean, because I've always said I need to be at my next before I get to my next. So my first degree is from the University of Nairobi, Economics and Maths. I was a banker for 2 years. It wasn't for me. Went to Capital. That was my first radio station. And when it was time to move on, and remember, I mean, a lot of people say this very lightly, the next will choose you before you choose it. In my case, it has always chosen me before I did. And I remember I was in what you would call the black space at the radio station.
About the black space.
I was in the black space, and in fact, I was in the black slot and the radio station I worked at. At Capital, it was new, it was fresh, fantastic. There was nothing like it in the market, but it sounded white. The playlist was white. And the then CEO looked at the research and was told by the powers that be that it is important to darken the playlist and at the same time darken the airwaves a little. So there was Phil Matthews, Zane Bergy, then the Darkie, myself, then Joe Tunis. Okay, so and then I played. In fact, the show was called The Jam. So I darkened the playlist. So there was a little Casey and JoJo and
A bit of color,
a little color.
a little spice.
Yes, yes. So not just the music, but also the
person.
personality. And there were a few changes that happened, and I kept thinking, I'm ready for prime time. I mean, there's spaces here. And I asked whether I could get into that space, and I was told, no, you're good where you are. Yes. And
Stay in that corner.
Yeah, stay where you are. You're good where you are. And you know, and I look, now that you're making me look back, I think the nerve of the way people perceived me. But I also think it's nice that I'm stealth and you don't see me coming, you don't understand how good I am. However, what was confusing is that when I did get headhunted and go to KISS, I was sued for moving. And the pleadings, I mean, I've never forgotten what the pleadings looked like. The pleadings said if she's allowed to go on air, she could effectively close us down. And I'm thinking,
How much power do you have?
I'll tell you this. The gentleman who was representing me was a gentleman called Cairo. And Cairo asked me, in fact, he peered at me the first time I met him with my chairman, Kiprono Kiton. He literally peered at me and said, who are you? And I didn't understand the question at all. I was 25, and he said, I've never heard of you, but the pleadings in this document seem to imply that you're pretty important. Yeah, so I took the leap, went into a radio station that still had a few wires sticking out of the ground, and they were still painting the walls. And that was KISS, and KISS was great. But 3 years before my 40th birthday, I started looking for my next, because I told myself this. And I talk about it now that I was able to do it, but I was like, I don't want to be 40 years old and saying 22 minutes past 7, this is KISS 100. Coming up next is Rihanna. I was not going to be backhandling Rihanna at 40. But I had to figure out, then what will you be doing, Caroline?
Yeah, what's next?
So I went to school. I went to school. I went to Harvard Business School. And in that safe but very, very, very charged environment, and even before I left, because they make you write your executive challenge. What are you here to fix? And I said, I need to know, what do I do with this thing that I've built?
What was that thing that you built?
I had built the ability to move brands, conversations, discussions. I had raised food and money for hunger and famine and hospitals and children. I sparked conversations. I've created movements. I have made my clients and advertisers shine. What next? And that was not a conversation I could have in Nairobi or in the building where I worked, because you've got the gig, you've got the audiences, you've got the pay. What is wrong with you?
Did anyone, so here's the question. Did you tell anyone that you were about to jump ship?
No, I couldn't tell anyone.
No friends, not family? I
told my mother.
What did she say?
My mother was like, I'll pray for you, but you seem to know what you're doing.
I'll pray for you.
Yes, because I told her, Mom, what do I want my resume to say in my 40s? I had done a certain amount of growth and work in my 20s. I had done my absolute wow in my 30s. What was the next season gonna look like? And I also knew this. I didn't want my resume to say senior radio anchor.
Yeah.
There's more to me than that.
No, it's interesting because what you're trained, when you get out of university is that your 40s is when you are fully anchored to whatever you started in your late 20s and 30s, right? You're becoming because that's what they expect. Very few people will tell, like, I started this podcast in 3 years ago.
Oh.
Yeah, so we've been doing this for a while.
Okay.
And it was a new thing. It was just something that I cared about, and I said, I think I could do this.
I can do this, yes.
But it was kind of scary, because you're saying that I'm going to bet on myself, and I'm middle-aged now.
I can say this with gravitas. The scary stuff is the good stuff. It's the things that scare you, those are the ones.
Everyone says that until they're hammered by the world.
Yeah, I mean, you will be hammered a little, but you slog through. I mean, I remember when I left banking. I mean, I don't know what it is like in Rwanda, but if you've got a job in a bank, I mean, come on, you're good.
Your mortgage.
You've got all that. So you can imagine, I walk out of banking as a management trainee, graduate trainees as they're called, and I walk into a radio station, and you can imagine people looking at me a little cross-eyed, like, what are you doing?
Why are you here?
Why would you do that? The radio people don't mind, because I'm also a very big believer in unconventional careers, because that's what made me. It was unconventional. Back in 1996, 97, Kenya only had 2 independent radio stations. Yes. So why would you walk out of banking to do this? And I've always said, one of the people who was very, very, and I don't know whether he remembers saying this to me, it was a gentleman who worked for Citibank, fellow banker, Frank Ureri. And Frank said, you've got to go with your gut, because it's seldom wrong. And when I talk to young people, I call it the ticklies. I don't know whether you know what the ticklies is. It's that little feeling you get out of the back of your neck. And you can't, it's just and you're like, okay, it's this one.
No, I have this thing where I cannot sleep. And all I could do is think
plan. About that thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Me too.
It's very annoying.
Yes, and then you've got to do it.
Or you'll absolutely lose your mind.
You will lose your mind if you don't do it. So for me, as I took myself, in fact, one of my mentors, a gentleman called John Gumi, then worked with Stanbic. But before that, prior to that, he had worked for Citibank in Kenya. And he told me, you need to go to a place where you can become small so you can grow again. Because when you're all that in Nairobi,
you can't
grow.
You
can't
learn.
grow. And then he told me the story of President Sirleaf. I don't know if you know, she worked in Nairobi. She worked here. She worked for Citibank.
Okay.
And she leaves. So she comes out of Sierra Leone, comes here when Charles Taylor was doing the nasty. And he said this next time they saw her, so she leaves Nairobi, leaves Citibank, goes to Harvard, and the next time the people who knew her, she was running for president. He says, I am a big believer that she found something bigger there.
Do you see yourself ever running for president of Kenya?
Not really.
Why
Politics
not?
has never been me.
But leadership is.
Yes, but who said leadership is political leadership only?
I mean, you'd think that you want to be able to, because you talked about the things that are important for you. Providing means, helping those more unfortunate.
You need to show me, when you're ready, how many truly politicians do that. I say this, and I say this with both humility, but with a certain level of, I know this to be true, that I have influenced more things by the 4 hours I enjoyed on air, and even post that, than most politicians have done in their term in office.
I guess, so I come from Rwanda.
Right.
Obviously, right? So we do our politics very differently.
Oh, yes. Most of East Africa does politics very differently than Kenya.
So we don't really call them politicians.
What do you
call them? Leaders.
Okay.
Right? So my wife is a leader.
Yes, she's not a politician.
She's not a politician.
Okay, we got politicians here.
So do you ever see yourself becoming a leader?
I am a leader. And let me
in the political space.
But even that I do. Just let me go back to my days on radio. First and foremost, I always say this. I would never get 4 hours of airtime as a leader or a politician. I had that every day, Monday to Friday. It's priceless. The question is, what do you do with it? Okay? A couple of years ago, why do you say those things? Why are you discussing that? big conversation about, I don't know, I can say this. You don't have what we have. There is no tax on sanitary towels in Kenya. And I go back to what I was able to do with that. I start having the conversation about that on air because I'm a private school brat who did not know that there are girls in Kenya who don't have access to sanitary towels. So the first time that is put on my table as a conversation item, I go with it on air. Of course, I meet people right after come off air. So what are you talking about? We don't talk about those things. I'm like,
why not?
No, exactly. Well, it was what, about 2005? Back in the day, we were all in the Stone Age. We whispered about these things.
About menstruation?
Yes. Oh, clearly you were way ahead of us in Rwanda.
Probably, no, we just removed VAT just the other day.
Well done. Well done. So the current Supreme Court Judge, Justice Njoki Ndongo, then was a nominated member of parliament and a friend of mine. And she runs into me in a mall and she says, I've heard what you're talking about. What's the problem? I say, girls can't afford sanitary. She tells me, no, that's not the problem. Could you just leave it with me? I'll come back to you, but that's not the problem. I tell her, no, girls can't afford sanitary towels. She says, okay.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And then, and I thought, politician, she's not going to come back to me. 2 weeks later, she says, I've just left Treasury. I know what the problem is. And I'm like, what is it? She says, it's tax. Now, I don't know about Rwanda, but in Kenya, the tax bracket within which sanitary towels were classified was under luxury goods. Allow me to say this slowly. Along with cognac, cigars, and Mercedeses.
And jewelry.
And jewelry.
That's what...
Yes, that was a tax bracket. Can you imagine? And she said, your job is to take the taxes off that to make it affordable.
I've never understood. Let me ask you something. As a man, sometimes I understand male privilege.
Yes.
And I understand that we've used our privilege as men to get the things that we want.
Yes.
What I've never understood is that there are laws. I'm assuming the tax on sanitary pads were passed. They were passed by Parliament.
Of course.
Were there women in that Parliament? Do those women have daughters and nieces or use them themselves?
Yes, they do.
So why?
And I'll say this. Once again, it was a woman who moved this bill in the fourth Parliament for me. But do you know how we got it passed and how we made it make sense? We appealed to the men because they're the ones who buy. So the minute you have a conversation and you turn your body and you speak to the people who have got wives and sisters and daughters and they're the ones who fork out this money, they're like, okay, now that you put it like that. Yeah.
Bloody. I'd like to talk about, you're a huge presence in the digital media space.
Okay.
Huge on Instagram. I learned quite a bit just watching your Instagram.
Okay.
About different products and
things.
And financial products and real estate. It's very exciting stuff. What power do you believe? Do you believe that digital media creators, digital creators, can yield the same power, can wield the same kind of power that you guys did?
As traditional media?
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. You must understand, I'm a big believer that every person...
Let me say, think about it this way.
Okay.
Right? They are billions of people on social media now.
Yes, they are.
So there are millions of Kenyans, 50, maybe 60 million people, 60 million Kenyans?
57 million, last count.
Right? Let's assume that 1 million of them are on social media.
True.
So there's 1 million Kenyans creating content. You came on radio when there were how many?
2 independent radio stations.
So you had power. Everyone who wanted to listen to music, get information, get entertained.
Yes.
They had 2 people, two stations
to listen to get that. Yes.
So how is it possible that digital creators who are now
in the marketplace, but sharing that marketplace with a million other people,
Right.
had the same kind of power that you guys did.
Remember you asked me, why did I leave? I left because I understood that that space was being democratized in the most amazing manner, and not as we know it, and not as we define it. So when my career was everything, if you wanted to know where the traffic jam was, you had to tune into me. If you needed to know the news, you had to tune into me. At the top of the hour, ting, 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 7 o'clock, hear the news headlines. If you wanted to know what was a great song, I remember when Shaggy's hit, It Wasn't Me, came out. We teased that song for 3 days. You had to tune in to us because we were going to drop it at 7:10 on
And
a
no one
certain
had
day.
listened to the whole song.
And yes, nobody had heard it. Okay. But as time went along, there was YouTube. So you didn't have to come to me for music. There was SMSs. Even before WhatsApp, there was just SMSs. You could tell me, avoid Uhuru Highway, Caroline, because yeah. So all of a sudden, everything that I owned, and by the way, I owned it, was being democratized. The news, you didn't have to turn on the radio to me. If it was big enough, you would get it on Twitter before you heard it on radio. In fact, I remember there used to be a line that said, if there was an earthquake, chances are you'd know about it on Twitter before you heard it on radio, before TV, and sadly, newspapers do report history because they give you the same story the next morning. So I was very alive to the fact that something was moving. But remember, I told you I went to school, and I've always said, sometimes when you travel either east or west from where we are, it's like time travel. You go 2 years into the future and then you come back. And that makes you see around the corner. So 1 million people are having various conversations, not the same conversations, various conversations. Whether those conversations go from medicine to local treatments to hair and makeup to how do you raise children to conversations on education. Yes, but what I find is missing, okay, is a certain level of throughput where you put your blinkers on, you make sure the audience can come to you consistently because this is what they get from you. And also you are being responsible with the audience. Remember, you don't come from traditional media at all. So we who are groomed in traditional media were always reminded having an audience is a privilege.
I mean, that's how I still feel.
You do feel that.
It's a huge honor. And
It's an honor,
responsibility.
yes. So when you have an audience, you have to treat them with respect, and you must remember what you say, they also take it authoritatively from you. So anytime you open your microphone and you switch on your camera and you record, it doesn't matter whether you do 10 takes before you post one reel, you've got to remember that audience must be served and super served. I still come from that school of thought. There are little things that make me a little nervous, and I'm going to have a conversation about this, and I call it responsible influencing. We are being irresponsible sometimes, especially with a very impressionable generation. And I always say, the lens into my world is only about that much. I don't do a wide pan. Because I do not want a young lady who's looking at me and saying, oh my goodness, I like Caroline so much, I love her life. And all of a sudden she's sitting there thinking, but I want the watch she has, and I want the car she's driving, and I want the houses she has in it, and I want to travel like her. No, I've got to tell myself, Caroline, how far do you push out that boat before you become irresponsible?
I mean, fact. It's a huge problem. It's because I think in Rwanda, I had a psychotherapist on the pod a few weeks ago. He does a lot of research. He's a PhD. He's a doctor actually. Yeah. And he was talking about social media and how it's creating expectations.
Yes.
And depression, especially
and
in young
depression,
people, and especially in young women,
and young people altogether. I think the problem is even harder for young men, because now you're in a world where you've got young women who are living it up. Okay, whether she borrowed that wig for just that shoot, or she borrowed the dress, or she's posing in front of a car, and he's like 22, 23, and he's like, how?
I want that. to date her.
Yes, but
I'm still in uni.
yeah. But then on the other hand, he's also seeing another young guy who says, oh, you know, I'm an online trader and look at the sort of money I got.
I'm doing Forex.
You know? Yeah, that conversation. So just to go full circle, I still think that we all play, and especially in the digital space, a very pivotal role in how opinions are shaped in every sphere of life. Health and education and life and beauty and politics and leadership and parenting, religion, spirituality, we all do. But we've got into a place where we must be policed because we're not policing ourselves. And I think that the next phase of content creators will be self-policing, because only then will they serve the audience they claim to serve. But we are going to have to run the whole gambit until we burn to the ground with certain people. And this is where you've got the cancel culture. And that cancel culture will continue to run its full course until we begin to self-police. And then you actually ask yourself, this thing I'm doing, does it edify?
I mean, it's a real discussion to have. I mean, especially when we think about it in terms of who's funding digital media.
Exactly.
I've realized something. It's the only people, if you see most of the ads in Africa, and also North America, it's gambling companies and alcohol companies.
Yes. And electronics.
I barely see electronics. That's fine. For me, but those two.
Yes.
And it's a rare creator
who says
no to that.
Like, I don't do gambling, huh?
It's
and the money's good, but I don't do...
Because they have, of course, they're making money hand over fist.
Yes. But I've been approached. But I think the industry now knows, don't bother with her.
No, I think there has to be a level of responsibility to our people, but I guess you also ask yourself, okay, how do I feed my family?
Yes, as I'm saying, for somebody else who's probably looking at me squint bright lines, like, really, Caroline? I'm like, yeah, but that's my call. And I said, we're going to get to a place where we self-police. They are, and I do believe in the not too distant future, and especially with Gen Z will actually say no, because they in particular are massively affected, especially on the continent, by gambling.
Yeah.
By gambling.
I don't know. It's a huge problem in Rwanda, and it seems it's a problem here in Kenya as well.
It's a problem. It's a problem. One, I don't gamble myself. Yeah. I'm the sort of person who, anyway, would be a waste of your time, because if I did win, I'm taking my money and I'm going. Yeah, and remember, that's not how it works. No, so that I say no to. I remember I was very clear that I don't do alcohol for the longest time. Yes.
Did that change?
I did do a 1-year stint with Diageo for Johnny Blue. But I was more interested in the conversation and the keep walking, because we finally had women walking, and was a bit more about where we were going with that conversation, as opposed to whether I was telling you to have a drink. Yes.
I'd like to ask you, what are women still apologizing for in the boardroom and in public?
Ooh.
And what does unapologetic female leadership look like?
What are they apologizing for in life? In life in general, having choices, having money. It's new. It's
owning their bodies.
Owning their bodies, yes, agency. But I've always said this, that empowerment of any kind starts at home. You can go to every seminar, and you must go. If you are invited to a gender empowerment seminar, go. But empowerment starts at home. So when people tell me, how did you become like this? Is that I was given the ropes at home. So where we raise our children, the schools they go to, how they're spoken to, what they're told they can and cannot do, is very crucial, because the world will tell. If you don't tell your kids who they can be, the world will define it for them. Okay, so women are still apologizing for being able to make choices. And those choices are in everything. Size of families, whether to have families or not, jobs, what they earn, what they drive. I was still apologizing for the size of car I was driving until about, my daughter is 14, about 12 years ago. Yeah, I still was. You know, we're still apologizing. We're apologizing about our bodies. We're apologizing about how we view them. We're apologizing about the decisions we make, about what we do about it, you know. In the boardrooms, we're apologizing for the thoughts we have that are contrary to what is happening around the table. Yeah. We still start our sentences with like, forgive me, but I just wanted, and we say, just wanted to say, and that we always add just, because what we actually want to say is, I don't agree with you. Allow me to give you my counter offer. But we haven't learned how to say that. So say, I was just thinking, I was just going to say, Chairman. So we apologize for it in case it offends somebody when we give you an opinion that is contrary to anything else.
So what are you supposed to do? Because they're still in these boardrooms with these men that still yield power. And I feel that language that you just used has also been a tool for women to kind of like slide in their thoughts.
But 30 years since Beijing, the women who went before us didn't go through the jungle so that we can continue to apologize for the fact that they were vilified for even daring to say that we should sit at board level. We owe it to those women. So even when I am asked as a Kenyan woman, who are the women I continue to revere and must do right by, I start with Martha Karua, Wangari Maathai, you know, all those women who, for them, the fact that they even stuck their neck out, they were smacked immediately, and then they did it again, and they did it again. Now, after they have gone through all that, I, who is riding on their backs, cannot then sit in the spaces that they allowed me to be able to sit in and not carry that torch boldly.
Yeah.
There is responsibility that comes with the fact that you were given space. The fact that I had a radio career that allowed me to speak my mind, that space was created by women who went before me. I must honor that. I must remember there's responsibility in the space and the platforms I've been given, in the fact that I will be called to Uganda to speak. I will be invited to Rwanda. I'll be asked to go to Johannesburg. I'll be invited to Accra. That is not something I can say, oh, I did this. No, there are women who came before me.
Yeah. What's the state of Kenyan women today?
Bolder than most. Bolder than most. Actually, when you have time, if you look at a lot of the statements and the front runners who are in trouble, including when you came into town when we had gone in and imprisoned a little girl. She was about this high. Did you see her? She who created a platform where we could give our opinion on the. I remember when I finally saw her in court, I was like, but she's pint size.
But she's dangerous.
But I must say I like. The space for women in Kenya, including the ones who went to Tanzania to have a conversation, has come a long way, but it's also gone from a place where it was in a lull for about 10 years to it's gone from, so we went from 0 to 16 to about 60 to 70, and then we went into a hum. And then something happened in June last year, and we went from 70 to 180. And in a lot of the spaces, you see women and young women who are younger than me. So sometimes when people ask me, Caroline, you're talking about it, and I'm like, look at what I created. I created, while other people were saying she's so bold, she's so controversial. Somebody who at that time was about 10 years old was watching me and thinking, I want to be her. And that's why I go back to the responsibility and the policing. Yeah. Because I have a responsibility to make sure that anybody watching me understands, how do you play this? You play it boldly, you understand? I remember when Gen Z went to the streets last year. There was a day my kids were home with their grandmother, and their grandmother was the one who told them, you know, your mother's been to the streets, she's been arrested twice. So my kids came home and said, Mom, you demonstrated? I said, yeah. You were arrested? Yeah. Was it bad? I said, it was scary, but it wasn't bad. Yeah. So I'm loving what I'm seeing with young women in Kenya.
I'd like to know what, because there's, I want us to have like a regional conversation.
Let's have
about
it.
the state of women.
Mm-hmm.
What can Rwandan women and
Learn
Rwandan
from us.
leaders learn from you?
Can
and
I-
vice versa.
Okay, let me start with the vice versa. And I say this as I remember my time. By the way, RDB, I miss you. Invite me back. Every time I went into Kigali, and whether I was, it was Claire Kamanzi, Bonita, all these women I encountered, they showed me how to take the position you've been given and take it very seriously. You must remember that for the longest time, Rwanda had a bigger number of women in political leadership, and you've reminded me, you don't do politics, you do leadership. So in leadership, than we did. And they were pulling their weight. So it wasn't just an affirmative action item. Okay. So I learned that from Rwanda. Every time I landed, I was like, and you are among equals. Women who are very clear that we got a job to do and we're going to do it well. And you've been called here to add to this. Yeah, so don't play. And let me tell you, there was one thing I learned from the women I encountered anytime I did work in Kigali, was that we do what we do and we do it well. Not just because of who we report to. In a lot of ways, RDB does report to His Excellency, but because this is a space we own and we own it well. What can they learn from us? That you can't arrive. And anything you do not use will be taken from you. Let me say that very clearly. Anything you do not use, you lose. Your limbs, your education, your intellect, the position you've been given, the space that you have. If you don't use it, you will lose it. It will be taken from you and you'll begin to claw back that space and literally go back 20 years where you're like, can we have a seat at the table? Okay? So Kenyan leaders, corporate, because sadly, we differentiate, whether they're in business, whether they're entrepreneurs. Actually, I want to see more Rwandese entrepreneurial women. They have got the mindset and the structure, and you need structure to be able to do certain things, and an efficiency in delivery that could change economies, but they seem to be okay with what they have so far.
I think that's a challenge that's not for just Rwandan women. It might be it's a conversation that His Excellency talks about quite a lot, which is getting comfortable.
Oh yes, there it is. It's the comfort. It's like, look how far we've come. This is nice.
Yes.
No, you can't. And East Africa could learn from Kenyan women is that first and foremost, when you look at the size of Kenya on an African map, I hope you're going to have a chance to show it. We punch above our weight. We punch above our weight, and we must. And Kenyan women really, really, really punch above their weight. And I think it is necessary. We want half the sky. It's necessary. And as I say that, we also must carry the other 50% along. Okay. So this the things I worry about. So if you ask me what keeps me awake at night, three things. The quality and the future of education in the country and on the continent. For too long, the conversation has been given to us. So a lot of us still have a colonial education system, and we still don't know what that should look like in the future. I can tell you here and now, as we sit in this room, there are still many of us who completed school and university who had no idea how wealthy Africa is because it was not taught in school. We're like, cobalt? What's that?
Why do we need it? What is it for?
Yes, but we don't even know. We don't understand. So we, as a continent, continue to look elsewhere to say, I can only make a fortune elsewhere. But we were deliberately misinformed. We were deliberately miseducated because an African who actually knows how valuable Africa is probably really difficult to deal with. I know I am.
President Kagame is.
Yes, I know I am. I'm a very difficult African to deal with. Because...
Why shouldn't you be?
No, but also, it's like when I apply for my visas and, you begin to do a who and how with me, I'm like, you don't understand, do you? I'm not leaving this continent. I'm very aware of how good this is. So don't give me a hard time about whether I want to strengthen the visa that badly. I'll be just fine. So, those things keep me awake. The conversation about the future of work, the future of the continent, and because we build countries through generations, my 7-year-old son, how old are your kids?
My kid is 4 and 1.5.
What does that look like?
For the boys.
For the boys and the girls, doesn't matter. But what future are we building? And most of it is in the knowledge we will give them and the how we do that. What else keeps me awake at night? There is AI. But before even AI, there's a critical mass of young people between the age of 18 and 35. There's an amazing report that was done by McKinsey, and you've got to look it up. It's called Lions on the Move. And it gives you the projections for this continent as we enter 2030, which is exactly 5 years away. We have the biggest workforce and the youngest. Now that workforce, those people can be dangerous or useful. If we don't figure out as leaders, not even politicians, as leaders, what we do with that critical mass, they will either set the continent on fire positively or they'll burn it to the ground. Because they want a piece of the action and they want to matter. That keeps me up at night. My daughter is 14. My nephew's 20. They're hungry. They're knowledgeable. In fact, when you look at Gen Z in Kenya, we all say products of former President Mwai Kibaki. Apparently, this is education. They disseminate a financial budget and they tell you what's this, what's this, what's this, what's this. They're analytical, they're smart. We've got to figure out what we do with that energy because it can either ignite the continent into amazing things or we can burn this place. That keeps me up at night.
Last question. What is the state of the East African woman in 2035? Are we still having the same gender wars?
We shouldn't be.
Then?
We shouldn't be.
Yeah.
In 2035,
so that's 10 years from now.
The East African woman will have created a continent that is a force to reckon with. And I'll tell you why. She'll have raised her sons a lot differently than her mother and her grandmother did. She will have found her place on the continent without necessarily looking west. You don't want to get me started on the conversation on the fact that the West have it wrong on the gender conversation and what women can do. And by the way...
What do you mean?
Oh, no.
No, now I'm just curious.
No, but you need to find Dr. Joyce Banda. She and I have the most amazing conversation about this, and I'll send you the video we did. And I always say, with all due respect, and I'm going south to the US, and everybody else has a conversation on where women should be. The US can't tell us anything. They're yet to elect a woman to the White House. Africa has had several female presidents. We actually know what we're doing. By 2035, we will probably be the people shaping the narrative for where women sit at the table, at home, how we raise children, because actually we have it right. We will have disabused ourselves of our colonial masters, all of them, the British and the French. We will have. I kid you not.
10 years from now.
10 years from now. My daughter is 14. You have no idea what conversations I'm having with her.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one. We will have disabused ourselves and then our children of the fact that we were once told we couldn't. And because we're the ones raising the generation that will stand in the same place as Burkina Faso is standing now saying, I dare you, I double dare you, it will be a very different space.
Last question.
Last question.
There is, when Tanzania got its leader, Mama Samia, as we call her.
Yeah, Suluhu.
Yes. There was an understanding, there was a belief that there would be a change in the way the country was run.
True.
I don't know whether that was a manifestation of the patriarchy in us thinking that, oh, because she's a woman, she will do this. Or did we just read, because there was a belief. We've seen a few women leaders, right? From Maggie Thatcher,
yes,
who was
all
the
the
Iron
way.
Lady,
Yes.
to Sirleaf of Liberia. So we've seen the leaders.
Yes.
Indira Gandhi.
Yes. Benazir Bhutto.
Yeah. So I remember, because she's doing what East African leaders have done very often.
Yes.
When things get tight, they crack down. In our history,
and she is a product of yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So my question is, have we been too hard on her, or did we expect too much of her because she was a woman?
I think, and I say this because I've sat in that space, not presidential at all, but as a woman, you will be held to a lot more. Okay, you will be. And that's not going away. You know, that one of those people, stop wishing it away. It's like, oh my God, why is it that if I dress like this, it's a lot tougher and the guy gets away with it? It is what it is.
Yeah.
Okay? So it wasn't that there was an expectation. Yes, there was. And actually, there was a celebration of her.
Yes.
But absolute power corrupts? Absolutely. Absolute power also turns your head a little. And let me also...
Whether you're a man or a woman.
No matter who you are. So stop acting like it's about gender. But also remember, she never thought in her wildest dreams. We didn't know who she was when Magufuli was president. Yeah. And then we heard there was I'm like, who's that? She didn't even show. No, think about it. Did you know who she was?
I mean, that's a good vice president, though.
Yes.
They hide.
She was stealth, but you find yourself in a place beyond your wildest, baddest dreams, and nobody prepared you for it.
And the only playbook that you have is a playbook that has been handed down to you.
Yes. And for me, I'm a very big believer that we must begin to exercise leadership everywhere. You can't tell people you can lead when you're finally on the ballot. I lead everywhere I am. And there's a little book by a gentleman called Robin Sharma, I don't know whether you know him. He says, lead where you are. Bloom where you're planted.
Yes.
I lead at home. I'm a firstborn daughter, hello.
You have no choice.
Yes. So, next series of your podcast, just go around, find a few African firstborn daughters and work it. Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Because there's black tax and then there's us.
Then they're the first sons, so there's
yes.
Of those,
oh, you're one of those. Yeah. Well, hello. You and I can never be in the same space for too long. But lead. Lead so that when you do have the ultimate position, it's not too much. Lead at school, lead at home, lead at church, lead the choir, lead and step into leadership, which is another thing women do. They do not step into it. They don't put their hand up. In this case, in the case of Mama Suluhu,
she was thrust into that space.
Yes. And then she had to reach for a playbook somewhere and look at who's around her. She was like, I'm going to play like them. And then everybody's like, no, you are not meant to. She's like, nobody gave me that memo. Nobody gave her that memo. Nobody gave her that memo. And also remember, she was not elected. But power feels good.
It really does.
And the seat feels nice.
And it's
being challenged.
Does. Yeah.
And here's something, I mean, free advice. Change will come to Tanzania, whether she's ready for it or not. It will come. It comes to all of us. It's just that, you know, in Kenya, we're those guys. We're like, okay, on to the next. Yep. We've had a couple, and apparently we change them every 10 years. In a country of 57 million, we can find somebody. But you understand, it's a muscle we must work. And all of us must work the muscle. That muscle that says bigger, better for Africa. Work the muscle. Work the muscle.
And with that, Caroline, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
This was fun.
I was so nervous. I don't know who.
Why would you be?
No. I was like, I don't know this guy.
That is true.
I sort of Googled you, but what's that? You know, I've enjoyed myself immensely.
And perhaps because, you know, you gave me, I would have loved to continue this conversation. There was like so many parts that we did not touch.
Yes.
But, you know, I'll be back in Kenya, and hopefully I will catch you in Nairobi once again.
If RDB invites me back to Kigali, I will look for you.
That would be lovely. Caroline, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
Do you have a podcast?
I'm starting one on the things I told you keep me awake at night.
When?
We're in June?
Yeah.
By August, I'll be up and running.
Fantastic. As soon as you know, please let me know. I'd love to share the podcast with all my listeners.
I might get you on because I take my time to do certain things. And I'm going to shake the table a little.
We love that.
I'm going to shake the table a little with the conversations I want to have.
Right.
But they are due, and we're not having them, so let's go. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode. Thank you so much for sticking with us until the very end. I'd actually love to hear your thoughts on today's conversation. So drop a comment below and join the discussion. You can also join us on the social media of your choice. And if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend and invite them to the conversation. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care.